how'd you kind of get into like college basketball media and stuff? I know you blog a lot.
So shit, it started when I was in college. I went to Kentucky as a journalism major, and I ended up senior year being our sports editor at our paper. We had a damn good student paper. We won like paper of the year for colleges. And as sports editor, I got dibs on like what I wanted.
Right.
So I took, obviously basketball is my main beat, and I was like our second writer for football. And so it started there. Then after I graduated, so I graduated in May 09, which was a shitty time to graduate in journalism. Like I thought I was just gonna write for like my goal is eventually like be on ESPN, like be a sports center,
right,
whatever. So I like, all right, start with the paper. Well, every paper job I interviewed for, they were hiring dudes like 20 years older than me that were getting laid off, taking entry-level jobs. So there was nothing there. So I switched. I actually worked at Vermont for a year as an SID.
Right.
And I hated Vermont. Like, it was just too cold. I didn't know anybody there. I was 22 and not allowed to hang out with the athletes who were the only people my age. And they were paying me dog shit money, obviously, in Vermont.
Yeah.
So, like, a lot of my good friends from college lived in Cincinnati, where I live now. And one of the guys was like, hey, I can get you, like, the sales job with the company he was working for, which paid way better. And he's like, it'll at least, like, get you here and then figure shit out when you get here. So I did sales, and then I got into purchasing. And when I was in purchasing, I started writing on the side. Like, I wrote for Bleacher Report. I was like the first college basketball writer of the old Reags Sports. And I wrote for KSR. And I happened to, like, Clem and KFC both followed me on Twitter. Like,
it's like you were just putting shit out on Twitter.
Yeah, like I had like 700 followers or whatever. And I was in like a group DM with Clem and some other just guys that like we become friends. And Clem was part-time at the time, and he was like, yo, have you ever thought about writing for us? And I was like, yeah, but I like never put two and two together. He's like, you should try to like reach out. So I DM'd KFC since he followed me. I was like, hey, like Clem had like suggested this, like, here's my background. Like, how do you suggest I go about this? He's like, start your own blog and kind of write a couple blogs, like Barstool style versus like Bleacher Report style.
Right.
And then he's like, and then email K Marco. He's like, mention that, you know, I and Clem kind of told you to do this. So I wrote a blog comparing college basketball teams. I tiered them, like the Power 6 teams and like Gonzaga, St. Mary's, Wichita when they were still in Missouri, tiered them by like girl pop stars. So like tier 1 was like Taylor Swift, tier 2 was Carey, and then like and like put like notes in there, whatever. Like, you know, like tier 3 was like the overrated teams, like so there were Beyonce, and K Marco was like, yo, I really like this blog. Can you kind of expand on some teams and I'll publish it in like a couple days? I was like, yeah. So that's how I got in with Barstool. And then, so I was writing part-time for them, like one blog a day. And then I just started writing more. And then I decided to go crazy during the 2018 NCAA tournament.
As far as just putting like a bunch of shit out?
I wrote a blog about every game. I was doing like 20 blogs a day.
That's sick.
And Dave was like, he sent me an email. He's like, yo, just like good job with that. And then he was just asking me, and he happened to be in San Antonio, so I met up with him and just kind of had to sit down. I asked him like what my deal was, like what am I doing, salary and all that. And I got hired full time a couple of weeks later.
So you got hired at Barstool in what, 2017 or 18?
18. I started Memorial Day weekend 2018.
So obviously everyone knows about Barstool now. Like, did you want to work for them, or was it just kind of like an organic?
A little bit both. I mean, I started reading them in like 2010 when I was at Vermont because my brother played football on the team. So yeah, my brother football team, and his girlfriend girlfriend from college actually was like Smoke Show of the Day. And that's how like he kind of like started reading more about it. He's like, hey, you would find this entertaining. Like, check it out.
For sure.
So I started reading it nonstop, like became a big fan. And I was like, all right, like this kind of matches up to like my humor, how I like to talk, how I like to write. And then about like 2014, I think I started, about 2014, it would have been 2016, I started writing for them part-time. Yeah, 2016. So by like around that time, I was like, all right, how can I get to Barstool?
Yeah. All right. For my people that like will watch this, I want to read your bio on the Barstool website. Blogging machine on college basketball, NBA, and other shenanigans. My headline game is a work in progress. Keeping the sports in Barstool Sports. Kentucky grad. So when I kind of was redoing my research on you and stuff, I see that you're not really active on Instagram. You like Twitter more?
Yeah, I gotta get better at Instagram. Like I just use Instagram now to like
consume
post pictures of my kid and shit.
Yeah.
So like I kind of have two Instagrams. I have like my own Instagram, which is again Barstool Reags, but I have then like Reags Barstool, which I try to do more like post videos like of myself talking about like the hoops and whatnot on there. But yeah, I love Twitter. It's just so easy to like fire off a take on Twitter.
Yeah.
Which pros and cons, like you're limited in what you can say. People don't tend to pick up on sarcasm.
Yeah, no kidding. Like it's ridiculous.
Like purposely trolling. Like last year with like UNC being bad, just purposely trolling like how bad they are.
They were so bad.
Right. And I hate Carolina. So I loved how bad, like I love just tearing them apart.
Right.
And yeah, like on Instagram, it's just I'm still figuring out how to kind of grow Instagram. And like how I can use that as like a brand.
Yeah.
Where Twitter, like I have a brand.
No doubt.
That I can kind of expand on a little easier.
When did you start like putting yourself out there? You know what I mean? And kind of spending it.
It probably would have been like Bleacher Report, not really, just because it's Bleacher Report. Like defend a little bit more in like the article.
Yeah.
Fan Rag, I would say that was a little bit more. Now I didn't have even remotely close to the following. But I remember distinctly I wrote Wichita State being like a pretender. Fans like losing their shit on me on Twitter. And that was like the first time I really interacted with a fan.
Yeah.
And that's when I kind of realized like, oh, there's a way you can kind of build Twitter through like conversations in a way, right? Like it wasn't like aggressive, but it was more just joking, making fun of them.
Yeah.
And like, here are my points of why I'm right. That was the first time. And then that's kind of like when I got hooked on it. Like I want to start either pissing off or having fan bases fall in love with me. Like I like being neutral to a fan base.
You said you don't like that?
No, because
that makes
that's sense. The one thing.
I just didn't.
That's the one thing with like media, man. Like traditional media sucks, right? Like the boring down the like here's the news type media. Like it sucks. Like
not fun.
It's also fake in the sense of you like every person is like I always think like Van Pelt always says. Every person is from somewhere. I'm from Maryland. Like he's like, I'm from Maryland. I'm a Terp.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, I went to Kentucky. I'm a Kentucky fan. Like that's who I am. So why would I not? Like I can sit here and talk about the team and like some fun of you. Stuff in that. Like so many old school media members get like up in arms where they're like, oh, you're being, you're making fun of Duke and twisting what Coach K says. I'm like, yeah, because that's how I perceive it. Like, this is who I am.
Yeah.
Like
100%.
Sure, I'm going to defend Cal through the depths of hell because I think like, he is my guy. He's my team's coach.
Yeah.
And I think he's a damn good coach. So yeah, I'm going to defend him when people are like, oh, you only won one title in 10 years or whatever. And I hate Duke. I hate Krzyzewski. But I can also say, like, Krzyzewski's the greatest college basketball coach of all time.
No doubt.
who's a massive dick. And that's what I think people struggle with when they see like what we do at Barstool and kind of like this new coming of media. So I've started just hating being neutral on like, or having people feel neutral towards me. Like, I don't want to be like, I want a fan base to either be like, I want to shove it down Reags' face that we're good, or God damn it, he's like running his mouth again about how bad we are.
Yeah.
And or vice versa. Like if it's a team they hate, I want, like, for example, like Iowa State. I have now started a rivalry with Iowa fans because I think they're the most overrated team in the country this year.
This upcoming year, you think they are?
Oh yeah, like they are not the 5th best team in the country. Like,
yeah,
I think Iowa is the most overrated team. Like, I think they're top 20, top 15-ish, but like national title contender, top 5. No, I firmly believe that, and that's why I think they're the most overrated team. And like, I was never anti-Iowa, but now I am. And like, I've always been a fan of Iowa State. Like, Monte Morris is one of my all-time favorite players. 100%. I love the Hoiberg era.
Yes.
I loved watching them play. So now it's like Iowa State fans are now like in my corner because I'm making fun of Iowa. And like, I love that because it drives up interaction, which I genuinely enjoy interacting with college basketball fans.
Yes.
Whether you hate me, whether you disagree with what I say with, or opposite, I love interacting with college basketball fans. So that's kind of how I go about it and why I do like the things I do in a way.
Yeah. So obviously, like we were talking about Twitter, you have a really good following on there. What are some, like, did you kind of like blow up one time at once, or was it always just like steady growth?
Obviously, like when I joined Barstool and started writing more for Barstool, just the name, you know, the Barstool brand builds you up. Because stoolies are millions of people everywhere.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, if there was a moment I can pinpoint where it's like, oh, that got me 5,000 followers or something like that. It's been just kind of putting myself out there, doing different things. You know, once in a while you go viral. That brings in some followers. Nothing. There's no moment I can pinpoint outside of being hired by Barstool.
So what I do is I'll post like a little snippet of an interview. So like a minute conversation, and then obviously put the link there. What do you like? Do you have any like recommendations for like how I should do that, or is it just kind of like figuring that out, you know, how it works?
That's so hit or miss. I know with my old podcast, I had the same problem. It's like, I thought it was a great show, great clip, and it would do nothing. And then a podcast I thought kind of sucked, or like the clip wasn't really anything. Next thing I know, it's like 1,000 likes and retweets, and I'm like, that, like, what? So I don't think there's a rhyme or reason with that. I do think like clipping and putting that with like on the tweet with the subscribe, you know, the link to the podcast is the best thing to do. But there's no rhyme or reason in terms of what plays.
Yeah, like obviously Jay Billis, the guy that got like 1,500 on Twitter, which is like my most. But like I'll get like a solid like 500 on Twitter and Instagram each. So like and I don't really even care about numbers. I just like fucking speaking, honestly.
And that's half of it, because like as you become more polished and grow, then all of a sudden then that grows. Okay. And when it's frustrating, because I know like when everybody starts, you're like, all right, I'm ready to, like, you think you kill it, and then it's like, oh, there was 100 listens. Right. Then it's like, okay, well, there's your base. And then it's like, hey, but to 200 listens.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Now I to 500. Okay, now I have 500 people that are gonna, no matter what, listen, and then just keep going and going. So it'll be interesting.
Just takes fucking work, really.
Pretty much.
Okay. So obviously Barstool Sports, Dave Portnoy, I got to ask you about, you know, just working for him and being around him all the time. How is that?
I mean, he'll tell you exactly how it is. Like, there's no bullshitting with Dave, which is something I appreciate. There's also no one in the world like Dave. So I mean, you got to call him a genius with how he built this, right? Like, there's no one else that I think that could have built Barstool to what it is without him and the way his mind works. And I mean, yeah, like I said, like he's straight to the point. Like there's not much interaction. Like I don't work in the office. I work from my house, so it's not like I see him on a daily basis. But if he's pissed at you, you know. If you're doing a fine job, he's laying off of you, and that you know. So it's unique, man. Like there's nothing like it in the world, and I'm eternally grateful for working for him because it truly is, I think, the best company in the world, especially from a media standpoint, to work for, because we get to say whatever we want. And where else can I sit there and call Coach K a dickhead?
You get paid.
Right. And like be encouraged to do that. Like be encouraged to give my thoughts on how I truly feel about people and teams and programs and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
So it's awesome, man.
Yeah. No, so I like, obviously I watch stuff like the Rundown, all that shit, Stool Scenes. I did see you on the Rundown that one time.
The day after Duke, Kentucky?
Yes.
Yeah, that wasn't good. I mean, I was up in the office for the start of college basketball, and he had asked me who I liked that night. And people tend to forget. I did give him a winner in the first game. I gave him Kansas.
Yep.
But then I said, I hate how much I love Kentucky tonight. So he bet Kentucky based on that. And boy, did that game go off the rails fast.
That game was crazy.
And I still like looking back on it, like, yeah, like we didn't know Zion was going to be that, right? Like game one. Right.
Yeah.
And like Kentucky figured stuff out as the year went on. Like
Duke didn't miss that game.
Right. And I mean, that like if they play in March, that game is obviously way closer. Tyler Hero turned into Tyler Hero. PJ Washington turned into an All-American. They kind of just started figuring it out. It typically is Kentucky. What I thought was that Duke was going to have the Kentucky path, typically. Struggle a little bit in the beginning, then all of a sudden, like, hit their stride. Then they go into March, and everyone's picking them.
Lose a game in January, like Big Cat said.
Yeah, like Kentucky lose South Carolina.
Right, and Duke will lose to
lose on. And it's like Duke, like I'm like, all right, they're gonna lose. I think they did lose no, that was the Bagley year. They lost to Boston College. But it's like you lose like Boston College or
NC State,
Miami, or something like that. And then everyone's like, whoa, let's put the brakes on. How good are they? And then they like blow through the ACC tournament, and everyone's like, all right, like they're the 2 seed you don't want in your bracket because they're gonna make the Final Four.
Yeah, no doubt.
So yeah, I in that game. That wasn't great. That was not great.
Yeah, I mean you were 1 for 2, so it's all good.
I went to 3 because then that next day I got called on the radio and had to give him a winner that night. I gave him Marshall EKU over. It was like 171.
Yeah. Okay. So here, let's go to. All right, I want to ask you. Obviously, you love college basketball. I love college basketball. NCAA basketball video games. Bring them back.
Yeah, in a heartbeat. I've been playing. Here's how old I am. One of my all-time favorite games, and a game I distinctly remember playing, is Fox College Hoops for N64.
That's crazy.
So, like, I played. Like, I still play video games. Like, I am a sports video game fan. I will play FIFA. I'll play 2K. I'll play NHL. Whatever. Like, I enjoy playing sports video games. We need college basketball and college football need video games back. Absolute no-brainer.
I know.
Figure it out how you can like set up like the group for payments and third party and all that stuff. But like just give it like, do you know how much fun it'd be play college basketball 2021 right now?
And the graphics would be nuts.
Yeah, and like I know like everyone's like, well, what's the difference between that and 2K? Like the difference is like the old school college football games where you take over Winthrop and you try to turn them into a like powerhouse. Like that was always the best part about the college football. Like I remember always doing it with like Wake Forest or people do it all the time now with like go back and play like, all right, I'm going to take Toledo and turn them into a powerhouse, whatever.
The funny thing, go ahead. Sorry.
I would say it just needs to come back. Like I miss playing them.
I actually have my old Xbox 360. One day I was just sitting around. I'm like, it was during quarantine. I'm like, I'm so bored. I found it, I found NCAA basketball 10. Remember that one with Kevin Love on the cover?
Yep.
Found that, and then I found 2K6. It's college basketball, and I just started editing. That was when I committed to Winthrop. Started editing the rosters, put myself on there, and it was sick, honestly.
I know, like I miss it because it is. It's different than Madden. It's different than NBA 2K, obviously, but there's something cool just about playing. Like,
Yeah.
I'm a college basketball fan first. Like, it's the sport I love the most.
Yes.
And like, I would love to sit in my chair and just play a couple games of like, again, NCAA like EA Sports NCAA basketball 21.
Yeah, and they had like they had game modes of like Maui.
Yeah.
March.
So, like, they could do so many things now where you could really set up like a true, I know licensing, but you're telling me like Maui, Battle for Atlantis, like do like the coach mode or whatever, program mode, and like accept invitations to play and like try to get into Maui, try to get into Battle for Atlantis.
We need that.
Whatever.
We need that so
I
bad.
know. We need it so bad.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about this upcoming year. I've seen today you're tweeting about this Bubbleville. Kind of fill me in. I have not heard about that just because I've been practicing, but kind of fill me in on that.
So it's up at Mohegan Sun in Connecticut, and they took like, I forget the exact number of teams, but a lot of those preseason tournaments, like the 2K Classic, and I forget what other one is going there, like the small 4-teamers.
Yep.
But one of them is Baylor, Arizona State, Nova, and I forget who the hell Nova plays in their first game. But if Nova and Baylor win, we get a top 3 matchup on Thanksgiving.
Wow.
And we get Baylor, Arizona State. Those 2 teams are both in the top 20. So, and then there's games like, so they set up a couple different pods. There's like a mid-major pod with Vermont, Buffalo, St. Bonaventure, and someone else. So like it's a great place, and the reason I did it there is there's a I forget if it's a hospital. There's something up there for like testing reasons. Yeah. You have all the programs can stay at. You have a court. You have this bubble. But it's such a great idea. We're getting day for 6, 9. The rest of them start like 11 a.m.
Yeah,
it's perfect. Like, I want this to happen. I want this to happen even like after coronavirus. Like, we need like a Bubbleville. I want to bring back 24-hour marathon. Like, I missed a 24-hour marathon. That's another thing I want to bring back. And this kind of feels like that when you have games starting at 9 a.m., ending at like 11 p.m. at one place.
Yeah. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
So what was I going to say? Talking about, so I would listen to like, obviously Dan Dockich and Greenberg, they have that podcast. And they're always saying the same thing. They're like, why? Like, it's just so weird how they're scheduling team schedule games 6 years in advance. But now they can just make a call these days. Hey, want to play? Like, just normalize that. Like, that's all we're asking for.
Yeah, I get it to a degree because you're trying to build out your schedule and get these
money.
contracts.
You put money into it too.
It's money, which is big for both sides, right? Like the mid-majors need that guaranteed contract of, hey, we're going to get $100,000 to go to Duke this year.
Right.
At the same time, Duke wants that, like, all right, we know we're going to have win this, put one on the win column.
Yeah.
And then just profit and loss of, okay, we're paying North Carolina A&T $100,000, but we're expecting to make $300,000 from fans that game. Yeah. So I get it. Yeah. I wish it's not as bad as college football, where like college football does like 10 years out. They're like, are we really going to get excited about like Oklahoma, Alabama in 2033? Like,
yeah, right. At the Dallas Cowboys Stadium.
Right. So I understand building out maybe like 2-3 years tops in advance, but at the same time, like, I would like to see more of the scrambling in a way. Like, hey, let's call our regional opponents or like regional schools.
Right.
Let's try to get, if you're like, I live in Cincinnati, let's say it's Cincinnati or Xavier. Hey, let's try to book Purdue. Let's try to book West Virginia. Let's try to book Louisville. Like, all these schools are within a 4-hour radius. So you can hop on a bus, get in, get out. obviously during these times that's important, but even in regular times, like take the private plane. It's a short flight, whatever. Take a bus, save money, whatever.
Just go play a basketball game at the end of the day.
Right. And I want to see more. I get the bye games. I'm not trying to like diminish mid-majors. Yeah. I love mid-majors.
100%.
I love seeing the scrambling and getting big-time programs playing other big-time programs. Mm-hmm. Like we're getting Louisville Seton Hall this year. We're getting, Kentucky got Notre Dame. Like I want to see more of that scheduling book too. And maybe 1 to 2 games more because you do need the bye games. You do need the mid-majors. Mm-hmm. But, like, give me, there's what? How many non-conference games typically? You're looking at, like, 10?
Yeah.
Give me 4 against, like, other established programs and then 6 against, like, the mid-majors.
Right. Yeah, no doubt. All right. I know you're a Kentucky guy, so you obviously know everyone that's played there in the last, 10 years. Probably more than that, but I want to do play, bench, cut. Okay.
All right.
I'm gonna give you 3 names. Obviously, you tell me out of the 3 which one you would play, which one you would bench, and which one you would cut. And when you say bench, that means you can sub him in for the guy you play. All right. Derek Willis, EJ Montgomery, Wenyen Gabriel.
Oh, God, you listed like 2 of my least favorite players to watch. So I'm gonna start Wenyen Gabriel.
Respect. Because
the other 2 were literally 2 of my least favorite players to watch.
Derek Willis, something about him. He was solid.
Derek Willis is the reason Luke May hit that jumper, though. He got lost in defensive transition and ended up getting sucked down when May was his guy.
I guess that matters. You're right.
I think I'd probably bench EJ because he just had more like natural skill than Derek Willis. And you kept being like, okay, when is he gonna have this game? When is he really gonna be this guy?
For sure.
You would see glimpses of it. Willis was who he was. He was a 4-star recruit, 4-year guy who found a spot in the rotation, which says a lot about, I don't want to diminish him. Like he is a damn good player just because I disliked watching him. But so I would then cut Willis.
Okay. All right. This one is going to be the hardest one. You're going to get pissed. Devin Booker, Tyler Hero, Jamal Murray.
All right. So now is this the Kentucky version of them? This
is them in college. Yes, sir.
All right. Start Jamal Murray. Jamal Murray, All-American.
Yep.
He's a dude that could go get you 20. He's a no-brainer start when you're talking about just Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to bench Tyler Hero.
Wow.
And I'm going to cut Devin Booker. Devin Booker might be the most overrated is not the right word, but not remembered correctly Kentucky player, especially from like non-Kentucky fans. He struggled down the stretch.
Yeah.
Like, everyone's like, oh, he was just like, look at what he's doing in the NBA. I was like, that's not who he was at Kentucky. And I know like he had the platoon system and he was playing limited minutes and all that. He really struggled shooting the last like 10 games of the year.
Yeah. And he
wasn't good defensively. Yeah. And he wasn't great defensively. He turned into such a better player than what he was at college, which is saying a lot because he was good. Like he was good at Kentucky, but Hero, I would give him the nod over Booker, and it might change. Like if Booker was in Hero's spot, like switch years.
Yeah, I mean Hero
he might have more of a chance, but Hero had Hero wanted the ball, and there's something to be said about that. Like the Houston Sweet 16 game, he drills that 3 for end up being the game winner, and I remember like Auburn game, like he takes over that. Like he in the regular season, not in the Elite Eight, obviously, but there's something about him where it's like. I think Booker is just the most misremembered Kentucky player.
That is now a stud in the NBA. Yeah, and that
right, and it's so hard because you can see him now, and he's like, "Well, this is a top 20 player in the NBA."
70 against the
right.
That
bubble this year.
Yeah, that platoon system was crazy.
Yeah, like it's hard to say it didn't work because they lost one game. It just happened to be in the Final Four.
Yeah, I'm a Wisconsin fan too, so that was amazing to see. I'll tell you that.
Right. And it's one of those where I truly believe if it was NBA style and they're playing best of 7, Kentucky wins in 6.
Oh, easily. Yeah.
Um,
But Wisconsin was damn good that season.
Yeah, right. Like, so no, that was the crazy thing about that Final Four is there was a clear top 3, right? Duke, Kentucky, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Wisconsin matched up the best against Kentucky. Kentucky matched up the best against Duke. Duke matched up the best against Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of whoever played who when determined how that Final Four was going to break down. It just happened that Wisconsin and Kentucky were on the same side, which was like worst case scenario as a Kentucky fan. I remember seeing that being like, that's the only team that scares me from a title is this Wisconsin team. Like I thought Kentucky matched up perfect against Duke because they had so many. You could throw Towns, you could throw Cauley Stein, you could throw Johnson on Julia Okafor, right? So it's like that was their best player. Yeah, Winslow got hot, and obviously Cook got hot during that. But like there were so many guys you could throw out there. And it still took, like, that's why I say I truly, and it's not just a Kentucky fan, I truly think, like, Kentucky, if that's an NBA playoff, they win that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because win that game.
Mm-hmm.
Stakes down the stretch. It took a missed shot clock violation. It took big shots by Sam Decker, like, and it still was a close game.
I know, it was nuts. Okay, 2 more of those. Can you still hear me? Are we good?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay, this one, I don't know how you'll feel about this one. Aaron Harrison, Andrew Harrison, Tyler Ulis.
Start Tyler Ulis. I mean, the dude was first-team All-American. You want to talk about a guy that was awesome his sophomore year.
Yeah,
Tyler Ulis, no-brainer starter.
Yes.
I'm going to bench Andrew Harrison because he ended up being more consistent than Aaron. Like, everyone remembers Aaron for that run, obviously, hitting a bunch of threes and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Andrew was – a lot of people forget Andrew Harrison beat Notre Dame to get to that Wisconsin game in the Final Four.
Yeah.
The platoon year, he hit those free throws, got fouled. Andrew was just a little more consistent, and I'm partial to lead guards versus off guards.
Yeah.
So give me Ulis as a start, Andrew as a bench, Aaron as a cut.
Okay, yeah. See, I wanted to make you pick a Harrison there, so that's why I did that. Okay, last one of those. Trey Lyles, Hammy Diallo, Jared Vanderbilt.
Whew. God, Vanderbilt just couldn't stay healthy.
Yeah.
Who's it? Lyles, Vanderbilt, Diallo. Oh God, I would start Trey. Like he was much better off at 4 when they put him at 3 because he was on that platoon with Cauley Stein and Towns. I'd probably start Trey, bench Diallo, and cut Vanderbilt just because we didn't get to see, like, we barely saw Vanderbilt.
Yeah. Diallo was –
That's a guy I wish – Vanderbilt's a guy I wish Kentucky had for another year because I wanted to see, like, a full year of him healthy because he was just a machine rebounding. He was such a unique player. That one hurt only getting him for that limited amount of time.
And then he goes and just gets drafted too.
Yeah, because, I mean, like, you looked at him, you're like, all right, this, like, does very well. He rebounds the ball. Like, we can figure out other things with him.
Yeah. All right, there you have it. Barstool Reags. Thanks for coming on, man. Really appreciate it.
No problem.